The soft glow from the fireplace reflected off my wine glass as I sat near the window in my parents' home in Seattle, listening to my brother Michael explain his latest business idea. This was the third world-changing venture he had pitched to the family in less than 2 years. First, it was the custom sneaker cleaning startup that shut down after 8 months. Then, the subscription-based healthy snack company that never made it past the prototype stage. And now he was talking about launching an artisanal candle brand that would redefine how Americans experience scent. People want unique fragrances, Michael said, swirling the bourbon in his glass like a CEO delivering a keynote speech. He was 35, always overdressed for every occasion, even on Christmas Eve. These aren't regular candles. These are elevated sensory experiences. We're projecting $900,000 in revenue the first year, easily. Mom nodded like she was watching a miracle unfold. Dad leaned forward, eyebrows raised in admiration. Lauren, my sister, who worked in corporate communications, was typing furiously on her phone like she was documenting an investor pitch. I took a small sip of wine and stayed quiet. Before I continue, Target. If you're listening to this right now, please take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who needs it. Your support helps this channel grow. All right, back to the story. The bank is very interested, Michael continued. I'm meeting with them next week about a $400,000 loan. Between that and Dad's investment, we'll be set. Lauren suddenly stopped typing. Dad's investing? Since when? Dad leaned back, the pride practically dripping from his voice. Michael needs support. That's what families do. How much? I asked. $160,000 from the home equity line. Mom froze. David, that's a lot of money. It's an investment in our son's future, Dad said firmly. The bank wouldn't even be considering a loan if the plan wasn't solid. Michael raised his glass. To family and new beginnings. Everyone toasted, except me. Emily, Mom prompted softly, aren't you going to toast your brother? I raised my glass, took a quiet sip, and set it down. Michael immediately noticed. What's wrong? He asked. Not happy for me? I'm happy you're doing something you believe in, but there it is, he interrupted with a bitter smile. I knew you had something to say. I sighed. Michael, $400,000 is a huge loan for a business with no track record and a saturated industry with narrow profit margins. Candle manufacturing is expensive. Custom molds, fragrance oils, packaging, branding, distribution. Profit margins are often between 5 and 10% after overhead. For your $900,000 projection, that's... Oh my God, Lauren muttered. Here we go, the pessimism. Dad frowned. Emily, that's not supportive. I'm not trying to be unsupportive. I'm being realistic. Michael slammed his glass down. This is why no one tells you anything. You're always criticizing. You're always analyzing risks. Sometimes people just take leaps. That's true, I said calmly, but you're asking Dad to take a leap with you, using retirement money he doesn't have the years to recover. Dad's face turned red. That's my concern, not yours. You're my father. Of course it's my concern. Michael leans back, arms crossed. You know what your problem is, Emily? You hide behind your job because you're too afraid to build something real. You've been consulting for years, but for what? You made a nice website. Then what? Nothing. Dad shook his head. Emily, sweetheart, consulting is fine, but you need something stable, something real. I sat quietly, letting them talk. I could have told them the truth, that I had not abandoned my original consulting vision, that my small clients included mid-sized investment firms, regional credit unions, and 3 state-level financial institutions, that my modest apartment was actually a fully owned luxury condo overlooking Puget Sound, and that last year alone, my consulting business generated $3.1 million in revenue. And that 8 months ago, I quietly purchased Rain City Bank, a 62-year-old institution with 14 branches across Washington state. But experience had taught me that my family didn't hear me. They heard the version of me they had created years ago. The quiet one, the shy one, the cautious one. So I stayed silent. Michael's phone buzzed. He checked it and smiled proudly. That's the bank confirming our meeting next week. Rain City Bank. My stomach tightened. Rain City? I repeated. Yeah, why? You don't know anyone there, do you? I took a slow breath. No, I'm just curious. Good, he said sharply, because I don't need you sabotaging this. I didn't respond. There was no point. Mom brought out cookies. Dad changed the TV channel to football. Lauren started talking about her firm's new client. The night continued as if nothing had happened. When I finally stood to leave, Mom pulled me aside. Don't take what Michael said personally. He's just under stress. I know, Mom. And maybe, he's right. Maybe you're too cautious with everything. Sometimes you have to jump. I'll think about it. She kissed my cheek. We love you, Emily. I love you too. I drove home through Seattle's holiday lights, pulling into the underground garage of my building, the building I owned, all 12 floors of it. As I reached my condo, my phone buzzed. It was Daniel Hopkins, the president of Rain City Bank. I had hired him myself. Emily, sorry to call on Christmas Eve. It's fine, Daniel. What's going on? We have a loan application requiring owner approval, he said. A Michael Carter, $400,000 loan for an artisanal candle startup. I closed my eyes. Daniel continued. It was pre-approved, but the business plan raises major concerns. Overestimated revenue, underdeveloped market analysis, and the collateral is his father's home. High risk across the board. Before I proceed, I wanted to check with you. I took a long breath. Daniel, listen carefully, I said. Evaluate this application exactly like any other. No exceptions, no favoritism. You're sure? Yes. If the fundamentals don't support approval, deny it. Understood. I'll send the full file for your review. I hung up, staring out at the Seattle skyline. I wasn't sabotaging Michael. I was protecting Dad. But I knew Michael would never see it that way. The denial came 3 days later, but not from Michael, from Dad. What did you do? He said the moment I answered his call. His voice was sharp, breathless, full of accusation. Hello, Dad? Don't hello, Dad me. Michael's loan was denied. Rain City rejected him after they'd already pre-approved it. You did this. Somehow, you did this. I walked toward the window, staring out at the ferry lights drifting across Elliott Bay. Dad, I don't even work at the bank. Don't lie to me, he barked. Michael told me what you said at Christmas. He said you tore apart his business plan in front of everyone. Now suddenly the bank uses the exact same reasons to reject him. Too risky, unrealistic projections, insufficient experience. Those were your words, Emily. I closed my eyes. Maybe the loan was denied because the fundamentals weren't strong enough. Oh, stop it. Michael is devastated. He already signed a lease on a manufacturing space, already ordered materials, already hired someone part-time. He's out thousands of dollars because you made the bank turn on him. He signed contracts before final approval? I asked quietly. He was confident. Dad's voice cracked. And now look what you've done. Before I could respond, he said, We're having a family meeting tomorrow at 7. Fix this. He hung up. When I arrived at my parents' house the next evening, I could feel the tension before I even stepped inside. The whole family was already gathered in the living room. Michael sat on the couch looking hollowed out, defeated. Mom hovered beside him, rubbing his back like he was a child. Lauren and her husband Ryan sat on the love seat. Even Aunt Diane had flown in early from California because the family was in crisis. Everyone looked up when I walked in. Thank goodness, Mom said. We need to figure this out. I sat across from Michael. I'm sorry your loan was denied. Are you? He asked quietly, eyes narrowed. Because Dad seems pretty convinced you had something to do with it. How would I have anything to do with it? You tell me. Michael leaned forward. You were the one talking about market saturation and profit margins at Christmas. Suddenly, the bank says the exact same things. That's not a coincidence. Lauren crossed her arms. Emily, do you know anyone at Rain City Bank? I looked at her. Why would that matter? Just answer the question. I know people in the financial industry. Seattle isn't that big. Did you call them? Dad demanded. Did you tell them not to approve Michael's loan? No. That part was true. I hadn't told anyone to deny it. Daniel evaluated it fairly, exactly as he would for any other applicant. Then how do you explain the timing? Michael snapped. Tell me how I go from pre-approved on Christmas Eve to denied 3 days later. Loans get denied all the time during final review. Not like this, he hissed. The loan officer said my plan showed limited understanding of market dynamics. Those were your words, Emily. Because they're accurate, Michael. The room erupted. Dad accusing me of jealousy, Lauren calling me unsupportive, Aunt Diane muttering that I'd always been difficult, Mom telling everyone to calm down. Michael cut through the noise with a single quiet sentence. She ruined this for me. The room fell silent. I had everything planned. The space, the equipment, the packaging. I had $45,000 in deposits I can't get back. I'm stuck. And everywhere I turn, I hear your arguments coming out of bankers' mouths. There were other banks, I said. I spent the last 72 hours calling everyone, he shot back. They all say the same thing. Too risky, insufficient experience, over-leveraged collateral. All your words. That's because the concerns are real, I said calmly. He glared at me. Dad put the house up as collateral so I could pursue something meaningful, and you couldn't even be happy for me. I'm not unhappy for you, I replied softly. I'm unhappy that Dad was risking his retirement on a business that isn't ready. It's his decision, Michael snapped. It's a bad one. And dangerous. Dad shot up from his chair. That's enough. Not everything is math, Emily. Sometimes you make decisions for the people you love. Family doesn't mean encouraging reckless financial choices, I said. Right then, Michael's phone buzzed. He frowned at the screen, then slowly looked up at me with disbelief. What? I asked. He turned the phone so everyone could see. It's an email from Rain City Bank. They want me to meet with the owner for final loan approval review. His eyes locked onto mine. Emily, do you own Rain City Bank? A chilling silence swept across the room. Dad scoffed. Don't be ridiculous. Emily does not own a bank. But no one looked at him. All eyes were on me. Michael repeated, voice shaking. Do you own Rain City Bank? I held his stare. Yes. Lauren gasped. Mom sat down too fast and grabbed the armrest. Ryan blinked like his brain had frozen. Aunt Diane crossed herself. Dad stared at me like I'd spoken in another language. You bought a bank? A whole bank? 8 months ago, I said. With what money? Lauren demanded. You're a consultant. Consultants don't make that kind of money. I do, I said simply. Michael paced the room like he was trying not to fall apart. You own the bank that denied my loan? I reviewed your application, and the analysis matched the concerns I already had. You could have approved it, he whispered. Yes. And you didn't? No. Why? Because the loan was too risky. And because if the business failed, Dad would lose the house. I wasn't willing to let that happen. Dad's breathing grew uneven. You think I'd lose the house? Yes. If you collateralize it on Michael's plan, you'll default within 18 months. No one spoke. Lauren took my phone from my hand and scrolled through the acquisition documents, proof of ownership, closing agreements, valuation records, board approvals. Her voice cracked. Oh my God, Emily, how much are you worth? My portfolio is valued around $380 million. My personal net worth, about $200 million after liabilities. Mom covered her mouth. Dad sat down. Michael looked fragile, like every belief he had about himself and about me had been pulled out from under him. For years, he whispered, I thought you were failing. I thought you were stuck. I thought I was ahead of you. You were never behind me, I said quietly. You looked away. You let me mock you. You let all of us treat you like you needed guidance, and you said nothing. I tried telling you years ago. None of you believed me. The room remained utterly silent. Finally, Michael spoke again, voice barely audible. So, what happens now? I took a breath. We talk. We figure out what a viable version of your business looks like, and we make sure Dad never risks his future again. He swallowed hard. And the meeting with the owner? Yes, I said. That's still happening. Why? So we can discuss your loan denial and what your next steps should be. His eyes softened just a little. You'd help me after everything I said? You're my brother, and I don't want to see you drown in debt trying to impress a world that isn't even watching. Michael showed up to the meeting alone. He walked into the rented conference room in downtown Seattle, carrying a worn spiral notebook and looking like someone who had spent days wrestling with his own ego. There was no arrogance left in his posture, no flashy confidence, just a quiet man facing the consequences of a dream that wasn't ready. Thanks for coming, I said as he sat down. He gave a bitter half smile. Didn't feel like I had much of a choice. You always have a choice. But I'm glad you're here. Daniel Hopkins, the bank president, sat on one side of the table with two analysts from my financial team. I purposely didn't choose a bank setting. I didn't want Michael to feel tiny. This meeting was about learning, not humiliation. For 3 hours, we worked through his plan line by line. Daniel, with his decades of small business lending experience, was surprisingly kind. He pointed out flaws without attacking Michael's ambition. The analysts provided data that Michael had never considered. Seattle's existing candle market saturation, supply chain costs, consumer patterns, labor projections. And I focus on the bigger picture. What was possible, what wasn't, and what could work if he truly wanted long-term success instead of a fast, dramatic launch. By the end of those 3 hours, Michael's entire business structure had transformed. Instead of a $400,000 loan for a full manufacturing facility, we proposed a $80,000 starter loan for a shared workspace using an existing Candle Studio's equipment during off hours. He would learn the industry, build gradual market presence, develop real customer retention, test fragrances, track profits. Built his brand slowly, sustainably. No flash, no heroic overnight success, just honest step-by-step growth. Michael stared at the revised projections. This feels small, he said. It is small, I replied. That's the point. He looked up at me. I was trying to go big because I thought if I didn't launch huge, I wouldn't matter. You matter more running a healthy business than drowning in debt, I said calmly. He exhaled, shaking his head. So, 2 years before I get to where I wanted to be in 6 months? Or 6 months, I said, if you're focused, disciplined, and really good at this. But either way, you'll get there without risking Dad's house or your future. His eyes dropped to the documents again. Dad's house isn't collateral in this version. It never should have been, I said. If you need someone else's retirement to launch your business, you're not ready for that business. He swallowed hard. That's harsh. It's honest. Daniel slid the newly structured loan papers across the table. This is pending board approval, but given Miss Carter's authority, he nodded slightly at me. It's largely procedural. Michael looked at me for a long moment. You'll approve this? Yes, I said, but only if you agree to work with our small business advisory team. Monthly check-ins, quarterly reviews, full transparency. That's fair, he murmured, and he signed. After Daniel and the analysts left, Michael lingered in the room. He looked like he wanted to say something, but hadn't figured out how. Emily, why did you do this? After everything I said to you, everything I accused you of, you could have easily denied my loan and walked away. I studied him for a moment. Because you're my brother. And because I remember what it felt like when everyone said my dream was ridiculous. I remember being told to be realistic, to get a stable job, to stop pretending I could build something bigger than my apartment. Our family said that to you, he whispered. Yes, and for a long time, I believed them. And now you own banks. I own businesses I care about. The money came because I put in the work, quietly, even when people mocked me. You sound like some kind of motivational speaker. Sorry. No, it's good. He hesitated. Can I tell you something? Always. This whole time, I felt like I was competing with you. Even when I thought you were struggling, there was something about the way you moved, like you didn't need validation, like you knew something I didn't. My goal. I needed you to be less than me, so I could feel like more. I didn't respond immediately. There was honesty in his voice, raw, painful honesty, and I didn't want to cheapen it with a quick reply. Thank you for saying that, I said eventually. He nodded. Outside in the parking lot, he paused beside his car. One more thing, he said. What? At the next family dinner, can we not tell everyone you helped me restructure the plan? Why not? Because I want to succeed on my own this time. Not as your charity case. I want to feel like I earned it. I nodded slowly. As far as anyone knows, Rain City offered you a smaller loan after reviewing your updated plan. Which is true. Which is true. He smiled for the first time that day. Thanks, Em. Good luck with the fragrances, I joked. I'll need it, he laughed. The next family dinner felt different. Michael announced the smaller loan approval. Everyone celebrated. Dad was relieved his house wasn't on the line. Mom was wiping tears of joy. Lauren asked a few thoughtful questions about his co-working arrangement. And every time Michael explained a detail, he'd glance at me. Just a quick look, making sure he got it right, making sure he remembered the plan we built together. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was trying to understand. After dinner, Mom pulled me into the kitchen. I want to apologize, she whispered. For what? For not seeing you. For worrying about you when you didn't need worry. For assuming you were struggling when you were quietly building something incredible. I smiled softly. It's okay, Mom. No, she said firmly, it's not. You deserved support. You deserved to be believed. You're saying it now, I told her. That counts. She hugged me tight. Are you happy, Emily? Truly happy? I looked out at the living room, at my family laughing, talking, healing, at Michael discussing scent profiles with Lauren, at Dad flipping burgers on the patio, at Mom wiping a smudge of frosting off Ryan's collar. And I thought about my banks, my teams, my plans, my quiet empire. Yes, Mom, I'm happy. 6 months passed. Michael's business thrived, slowly, steadily, quietly. He hit every milestone early, established real customer loyalty, partnered with local boutiques, built a brand that people genuinely loved. At a family barbecue in July, he pulled me aside. I'm ready, he said. For what? For my own facility. I felt pride bloom in my chest. Bring your numbers, I said. Let's take a look. Emily, he said softly, this time, the plan is solid. I promise. We'll see, I teased. But he wasn't lying. His projections were realistic, his expenses calculated, his market analysis refined, his concept proven. Daniel approved the larger loan that same afternoon. As Michael headed for the door, he paused and turned back to me. You know what's funny? What? For years, I thought I was the successful sibling, the one taking risks, chasing dreams, doing big things. And you were just there, quiet, unimpressive. He shook his head slowly. Turns out, you were always successful. I was just too loud to hear it. After he left, I walked to the window of my office. Seattle stretched beneath me. Neighborhoods where my bank stood, businesses we funded, families whose futures we supported. And I thought about that Christmas dinner, when everyone believed I was the failure. I thought about the years they talked over me, dismissed me, underestimated me. And I thought about how, in the end, none of that mattered, because they finally saw me. Not the timid consultant, not the uncertain dreamer, but the woman who built an empire in silence. And the truth is, the quietest person in the room is often building something so significant, words would only get in the way.